If you look at data centers, they are the new foundation. So they, every sector that is growing, every innovation, and also our future economy model relies on data centers. And you see that with the most valuable companies, trillion-dollar companies, and the blue part is all tech companies. So you see that where it used to be when I was born, it was banking and oil. Now it's tech, and this will continue and will become more important. It also creates a new ecosystem. So this is only our supply chain ecosystem in terms of the facilities. And you see that it's already pretty big, and there are also, for instance, Dutch companies that supply 3,000 people that only secure data centers. So very simple, not only high-tech jobs, but also sort of like mid-level technical, lots of different jobs. So what is going on in the data center, and what type of data centers are there? Well, data centers, you see that there are still a lot of private data centers in the Netherlands, banking, but for also the grid operators. The TSO has 3 data centers, just acquired a third one to manage the high voltage grid, and so does every DSO, but every other large company has their own big in-house data centers. Then you have a lot of co-location data centers. So these are data centers provide facilities for their IT, so like an insurance company to run their IT in the most secure, efficient way, which they cannot do themselves. It's actually much more efficient to outsource it, and you could see also in the International Agency monitoring, that was one of the reasons why energy was quite stable for a very long time, the energy usage. And then you have hyperscales, which are the scale data centers. There's a lot of gray areas in between, so you have a lot of co-location data centers that supply for hyperscales their equipment. So you see that there is the boundaries are not that strict. In the Netherlands, there are around 200 data centers, larger data centers spread around the country. We have 2 hyperscale locations in Groningen and the top of North Holland in Middenmeer. And around Amsterdam, we have a large hub, which is also an international hub. So if you look at on the map, these are the concentrations, and over the rest of the Netherlands you have, for instance, in Brabant and Limburg, the southern provinces, you have around 80 data centers. Energy. If you look at the impact of data centers, around 4% of the electricity consumption, which is 0.5% of the energy consumption, very low emissions, very low tap water, very low constructed area. If you depend on the media for these numbers, sometimes it's sort of like really data centers take all the water, take all the land, the whole Netherlands will be built upon with data centers. This is totally not true. So the 350 hectares, it's like 200 hectares of actual buildings. The rest is land around it. That's sort of like 2 farms in the Netherlands if you combine it. So it's very little, but the media tends to go into a different path, which is quite a strange thing, this perception thing. So you see total energy usage in the Netherlands is quite stable due to energy efficiency, also electricity. Also, if you look at the media, there's a lot of talks about basically how data center, how the IT world is taking all the energy and all the electricity. This is really not true. So if you look at like how it's divided, so you have data centers, you have customers of data center, the IT equipment. So if you combine it, the devices still take most of the energy. In large parts, the monitors, the screens of a phone or a laptop, you have a lot of energy use in the networks, and then the 24% of the energy use is the 4% I was talking about earlier, and that's the data center layer. Yeah, this is sort of like a little bit older, because I see it's a little bit growing now. But here you can see basically why the efficiency had its effects, because it used to have a lot of in-house data centers. There are still around 6,500 in-house data centers in the Netherlands. By migrating that to cloud applications, that is much more efficient, and that brought the energy efficiency down. Sometimes in the reports of the CBS, the Statistical Office, they say, well, the services industry is really doing well in energy efficiency, but basically they outsourced it to a cloud provider, and yeah, the data centers are growing really rapidly. So it's sometimes really strange that in The Hague they're interpreting numbers in a quite different way. Yeah, energy, how data centers bring efficiency by centralizing IT equipment, by more professionally running the facility, and that brought in enormous efficiency there. If you look at also the mechanisms around efficiency, why data centers are focusing on efficiency, it's because they earn more money if they are running in a more efficient data center. So energy is their largest cost, operational cost. So any investment that you get returns in 3, 4, 5 years, it's sort of like a no-brainer to put them through. So you see that there is a lot of things that is also indirect, that is indirect providing energy efficiency. And we're also focusing on circularity, and we're also focusing on grid integration nowadays, more and more. Also, a part that's not mentioned a lot, if you look at corporate buying of green energy, the funding of wind parks, solar parks, at one point it was even 50% of all the global PPAs. I think it's now around 30 to 35% of the PPAs. But these PPAs are vital to fund a wind park. And and they're not using all the electricity generation that is being financed. So this is also a very important thing to know. Also, by reusing energy and integrating it to an energy system, you see that you can do a lot of interesting things with the heat. So there's a lot of projects already ongoing. In Eindhoven, there is a connection where a single data center is sort of like going to feed the a whole urban area, around 5,000 to 10,000 houses, but also the high-tech campus in Eindhoven. All the offices are fed by a local heat network, which is fed by the data center, which is there. So there you can reuse the energy, and if you look at heat networks are not very common in the Netherlands because we have gas, we have natural gas. But the existing heat networks now all looking for non-fossil heat, and data centers are actually, they use green energy or energy with green certificates. By reusing the heat of that, you sort of like really are using the energy in it twice actually. AI. If you look at AI, you see lots of statements, and we see that also at this moment already. I think this week already, I think yesterday, the largest bank in the Netherlands, or one of the largest banks in the Netherlands, they said due to AI we're going to let go of 5,000 people. You see that in the software industry, you see that already in the contact center industry. There's a lot of efficiency there, and a lot of people are not sort of like needed anymore. So it already has an impact, and you see that also in the infrastructure. Well, this is of course the game changer, Donald Trump. I think it's also the game changer in how we look at our infrastructure in Europe. So a lot of things are happening due to him, and they are. AI is geopolitical, so now you see data centers being built with gas turbines in the States, on designated lands, and there is priority in the US to build more infrastructure, and that is really, and also what you saw in the stats previously, speaker, you see that they're really ahead. You have types of AI, and I think that is also interesting to hear. You have LLMs, you have the training part, and you have the inference, the distribution, the usage of AI. And that also depends on where data centers are being placed, which also has an effect on its efficiency. So the scale data centers, you see that the large data centers are being built in areas where there's enough energy, where there's enough green energy and space. So the northern parts of Europe, but now you see that also in Spain, and you see that countries like France, the UK, have special AI policies here in Europe, where they designate land power to these large training facilities. The Gigafactory initiatives, you see that I think there are 76 in Europe being sort of like put forward, 4 in the Netherlands, and that will be in January. Will be the final rounds where we all will see these kind of skill facilities. I'm not sure what they yet are, because I think that if I look at all the descriptions of a gigafactory, they're just data centers, but probably the European Commission knows a little bit more than us. Inference is more like hub and edge. In Europe you have 4 major hubs. It's called the FLAP, Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris. These are concentrations of a lot of data centers. These are highly or high data gravity areas where there are ecosystems that can only work with the companies that are there, just like in Eindhoven on the high-tech side. You see that also on data center infrastructure. So on inference, you're focusing on the hub and edge areas. This is also a challenge because these are the areas which are congested, which are difficult to build extra data centers in. So in the Netherlands, Groningen versus Amsterdam, Nordics versus FLAP. It's sort of like large-scale power versus the distribution of the AI, and you have also the form factor is now moving towards much bigger racks. So you have racks where the IT equipment is like where there are already megawatt racks. There are data centers in the Netherlands that don't do a megawatt. In total, they have 200 racks and they're still below the megawatt. But here there are racks for AI which are already hitting that maximum. And that also means different cooling, different integration, but also to ship a rack which is a megawatt, a rack like that's around 20 million euros. In terms of insurance, you can only transport 2 at a time in a big truck. So if you want to fill a data center, that's quite a project. You have liquid cooling versus air cooling. So you see lots of difference in the facility side already in on-chip cooling. You see it versus air cooling, you see immersion cooling, you see sometimes combination of immersion and on-chip cooling. But at this moment, if you look at how many liquid cooling facilities there are in the Netherlands, that's hardly any. So even though we already see a big change, there are hardly any liquid cooled data centers at this moment. You also see the next step, and that's in-chip cooling. So I think in Eindhoven and also with the NLR, you see lots of on the hardware developments on the efficiency there. But efficiency of AI is basically a combination of lots of things, and I think that sometimes a data center has to become more efficient. But that means a lot of things. That's not one thing, and that's not one responsible. That's a whole layer of things that need to be looked at. So it's basically the usage of your equipment. The more you use it, the more efficient you use it, the more efficient it is. But it also means that what type of AI are you doing? So, do you want to be near to your customers? Do you want to be at the distribution point? Do you want to be in the ecosystem? Do you need to work together with lots of other companies? So the more efficiency is also in that sense to be in places where it's efficient for your model and efficient therefore for your energy. It's about the software and hardware on the chip design, what type of processing unit you use. How far you go with also the different hardware kind of cooling. And then on the facility side, so the liquid cooling side, do you want to do it air cooled? How do you do the power distribution? How do you integrate also in the energy system? We're looking for lots of energy at this moment, but we are also building substations, for instance, on the facility side. We can do it much faster than the TSOs, DSOs, so we can also help the energy system. But that means a lot of things, because we are talking to a government or a grid provider which only thinks in their view on the world, where we need to combine spatial planning, energy planning, economic planning together so that it really becomes really efficient. If you want to design, if we would design the data center infrastructure in the Netherlands now, we would do it totally different. We would place data centers where wind is coming ashore, the electricity from wind parks at this moment. But we have built data centers in Amsterdam or in Groningen or in Middenmeer. These are like not the logical places if you look at the energy system. So if to change that and to sort of like find a new way in becoming even more efficient, we have to really bring a lot of things together. So clustering, planning, we are also part of the Innovation Agenda project, which is sort of like the Dutch Draghi report, which is led by Peter Wenning, the ex-CEO of ASML. And their data center compute is one of that's sort of like the basic layer that needs to be there to become innovative and to become also to stay relevant as the Netherlands and to have a future economy. And there you see also that we focused on the clustering of data and energy. Urgency. If you look at the urgency, and this is sort of like where are we leading, where are we lagging? Basically, we're still leading in the ASML part, but for the rest we're lagging. So there's a sense of urgency, and due to Trump, I think we realize now that there is a real urgency. But yeah, this is sort of like focusing on the urgency. If you look at the Netherlands, and we went full ahead with the energy transition, I do not think we had a total long-term plan on how we're going to do it. So this is the result. This is putting energy into the system and getting energy out of the system. Well, it's all red, and red means not good. So actually, this is already the white areas where there was still energy. Actually, this is a data center. This is the largest data center area. It's even not that bad, but it's now more bad than it was before. So there's a lot of work to do there. Also in the Netherlands, to do something in Europe, basically, we are, there's a tsunami of legislation in the Netherlands. So if we build, for instance, a substation on our own premises, it's more like a technical project. It takes 2 years. If Leander or Tennet builds, the DSO, TSO builds a substation, it takes 10, 12, 15 years. And that's all due to regulation, permitting, etc., etc. So we have to do something about that. Make Europe great again, we have to do it. There's a real sense of urgency. So also this week I think there was another judge that was stripped of all its tools by the US. So we need to become stronger as Europe and focus on really on building the infrastructure and focusing on that. So you have a lot of things that happened in the Netherlands. You had also Meta who came to the Netherlands, which created also a really hostile environment. There's in many areas a NIMBY focus, so like not in my backyard. In the Netherlands it's called Nivea, niet in voor of achtertuin. You see that there is national ambitions, but if the local municipality says we're not going to do it, we're stuck. So there's also a real challenge in that sense. Talking about autonomy, we are now behind, so we need to step up in that sense. So the Draghi report. If you look at also what the project Wenning is looking at, we have to look at the foundation layer to become innovative, to have autonomy, to be resilient, but to also have a future income. And so that is something we really want to focus on. So Peter is leading that. On the 12th of December in the Netherlands, this report comes out. So, and there's a lot of push also towards the formation of the new government in the Netherlands to take these projects. These are, I think, around 30 projects that really are breakthroughs that tries to get the Netherlands working again. And it's all focusing on really where we want to be in 2050, and that there will be also a little bit more centralized approach in terms of how to make that happen. So urgent change. How can we do smart things? And I think that also leads, and what I said before, also with where does efficiency come to? We have there's a scarcity, and that means that there is also room for innovation. So you see a lot of batteries companies now working on getting data centers which are basically baseload, and we are not on the control of the IT, so we stay baseload. But can we make it more flexible? Because the feed of the energy in the energy system gets more irregular. So you have solar, wind, which cannot be controlled. So we're focusing a lot on how getting batteries in to become really efficient in terms of also helping the energy while maintaining 100% uptime. So this is really interesting to see. We're focusing very much on also how to get the hydrogen economy started. Data centers have gensets. So for all energy that we use, we have backup power. So we can run on backup power, but you don't want to run on diesel. But you can run on fuel cells on hydrogen or on hydrogen in gas turbines. So that is also a way to make this infrastructure more efficient, more green, and helping the energy system become more stable in this current state that we're in, and helping the energy transition speed up. there's a business model behind data centers. So if we can, for instance, there's also a regulation problem with the grid operators that cannot pay more for the amount of money, for the amount of land where they want to build a substation on. For data centers, we offered, let's us buy the land for your substation, and because if we get power 5 years earlier, then it is a business case, which is also again a no-brainer. So we have to work in a more integrated, different way, and therefore you need a little bit more understanding in each other. I'm starting off because it's also a little bit of a negative story sometimes, that there are also nice data centers that to look at. This is the data center in Barcelona. It's built in the old auditorium there. Really beautiful building. This is in Paris. This is also a funny story. Actually, the park, a lot of people say data centers use tremendous amount of water. This data center doesn't use water. The park is really the biggest water user, but this was a regulatory thing from the Paris municipality. You had to have a park, so there was a problem. But it's actually, this is really bringing a lot of stress on the water system there. This is in Amsterdam. It won the second prize in many years ago in the national architecture contest. It's of Equinix. So these are actually 2 data centers, and it's this is sort of like a aluminium frame or surface which is actually open, so there's a lot of cooling coming inside. This is in Portugal, so this is of Portugal Telecom, an actual data center with like a lake on the roof and green. So it is possible to make a black box a little bit more beautiful. And this is sort of like a plan that we have also with the Banning project to sort of like combine and basically like the high-tech campus, sort of like a combination between data centers, group it in a park with research next to it, with AI research. So to combine things together, have it close to an urban area to reuse the heat. By having a central approach to it, you can really make the total system more efficient. So a little bit about us. I think these slides will be shared, so you can find a lot of data and reports. We have around 100 reports on our website. So thank you very much.